Retro styling is still all the rage in 2022, and nowhere is that more apparent than in the hot middleweight streetbike segment. Up-to-date tech paired with stylish looks is still the recipe du jour, and lately Kawasaki has been playing the sport classic formula like a virtuoso. The Z900RS Roadster and Z900RS Café serve as exhibits A and B. Team Green recently saw fit to expand that RS retro sport theme to the new 2022 Z650RS, which also seeks to tie its DNA to the classic Z1 model introduced in 1972. Last week, we got a chance to experience it in all its 70s-inspired glory. From the very start, Kawi gets credit for nailing the aesthetic part of the exercise, even if the Z650RS is packing a liquid-cooled parallel twin rather than the four inline cylinders of its older and larger Z900RS cousin. In fact, the smaller RS shares nearly all of its architecture with Kawasaki's Z650 naked, right down to its punchy DOHC 649 cubic centimeters engine, which carries over unchanged to the Z650RS, state of tune and all. Unfortunately, that also means there wasn't much Kawasaki could do to spruce up an objectively unattractive lump. They chose to black it out instead. Otherwise, the Z650RS looks like a completely different animal, even though the only real changes are on the ergonomic and styling fronts, minimal bodywork, a differently shaped, smaller 3.1-gallon teardrop tank, and an exposed headlight bucket to distinguish it from the naked model. Settling in, the RS taller and wider handlebar sets the rider up in a relaxed upright position, while the seat's narrow front portion gives stubby legs an easy stab to the asphalt. But there are no changes to the steel tube trellis frame, and even the steering geometry, 24 degrees of rake and 3.9 inches of trail, is unchanged from the straight Z650. Since the first part of our ride wound us through about a dozen miles of city streets, we got to experience one of the Z650RS imperfections early on, a somewhat snatchy, slightly on-off throttle, especially when leaving from a stop in first gear. Whether it was a mapping issue or a substantially shortened first gear was not clear. As the roads got quicker and the traffic lights fewer, we recalibrated our wrists so that the initial abrupt throttle became a distant memory. It's something experienced riders can acclimate to easily enough, but an issue newer riders might find off-putting at first. The speeds picked up, the roads got cavia, and the RS got to its happy place, with the 649 cubic centimeters parallel twin doling out healthy grunt at all engine speeds. Where it really shines is in the mid-range and low end. There's a nice hit of power that comes on around 5,000 RPM. Fueling is smooth, at least when you're not in first, and the throttle dials up responsively for quick exits out of low-speed turns. The engine's claimed 60 horsepower doesn't come on too aggressive.